What's up, world? Ollie Red back in the building with another episode of the All Things House Music Podcast. On this episode, we feature Kyle Kinch. Some of the topics that we discuss are the importance of building relationships within the house music scene and how he built those relationships with some of the likes of Gorgon City and Sam Divine. We also go over how he got one of his first tracks signed by Marshall Jefferson. And we also go over the importance of not giving up on your dreams and yourself, amongst many more topics. Once again, thank you for everyone for showing love and support. Make sure to subscribe and to follow All Things House Music Podcast. And let's start the show. Kyle, what's up, bro? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on the pod, and I'm sure everybody's looking forward to getting to know you a little better, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So let's start from your musical beginnings. Not necessarily like the house music thing or like DJing, just any things that you kind of the foundation of your kind of sound like growing up.
Yeah. Well, I've always been very closely tied to music, and when I first was growing up, I'd say I was like 5 years old. My mom put me in piano real early.
Nice.
She always had the Erykah Badu CD bag and all.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was very into jazz music, Duke Ellington, stuff like that. So I was always very closely tied to music. And then I actually picked up the saxophone when I was about 11. I actually think I'm staring at it in the corner of my closet. That thing is like, why haven't you used me in a while? But I did that for a while, did that at school. But I've always kind of been, even when I wasn't playing an instrument, I was definitely, music was ingrained into me, being born in Brooklyn, especially around that time, when like Biggie and, Nas and Jay-Z were coming up, like, you could not be listening to that type of music. So I had my headphones on consistently. I had my Walkman.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's always been very much ingrained into everything I do.
Yeah. What time frame was this? What years for the people don't know when Big and them were doing their thing?
I mean, shoot, that was like mid-90s. I mean, obviously I was young, but I had a older brother. He's 8 years older than me, so he was listening to all that stuff, which means I was listening to all that stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, I had an older sister. She's about 8 years older than me, and she went to the army, and then like whatever that it was in the house, it was hers. I had it on listening to it. It was like the Snoop Dogs, everybody, Big, everybody. It was just like what a time to be alive for music. You know what I mean?
yeah, especially when you're in New York too. Like the radio, like people will tell you, like the radio in New York is unlike anything else. Like they
For sure.
playing everything,
Dog.
So you will hear it. You didn't even know it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'm from Jersey, so like the same radio station you listen to, I'm sure I listen to too. You know.
Oh, where? What part of Jersey?
South Jersey, but I spent my time like all over. My mom's from Newark. We would, I would close to the Philly, but that Philly radio station, your radio station, Power 105, 90.1, all that stuff is.
Oh,
the vibe for sure.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I used to live in South Jersey too.
Oh, where?
Marlton.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm an Eagles fan, baby.
Oh man, check you guys out.
Oh, bro, this is prime time for us right now.
Man, listen, man. Philly sports in general. Well, I can't say in general because the Sixers. We want to talk about them, but the Eagles, man, doing good this year, huh?
We had to sacrifice the Sixers to get this championship. So
I mean, I'm a Niners fan, so I mean, I guess, bro. I don't know. I guess for sure. But so you always been into Philly sports, or is that when you moved to?
Yeah, man. Since day one, bro. When we first moved from New York to South Jersey, I think I was like 7, 8, and we had season tickets to everything. So like, I was there at the game where AI crossed over Jordan.
Oh,
Yeah, bro, I was there.
Man,
Yeah, I know, it was crazy. We had season tickets to the Eagles. The Flyers practice rink was in our town, so, like,
yeah,
pretty much Philly everything except the Phillies, ironically.
yeah. But yo, that's tight. As a kid during that time, that's pretty tight, bro, for sure.
Yeah, man, I mean, like, to be honest, like, we I know we always say it and everybody thinks their time was the best time, but '90s was special, bro.
The best time ever, dog.
The
I
'90s was special, dude.
I tell everybody, yo, the best year of my life was 1996, man.
Yeah, he
96.
had the dime for tea.
Yeah. Yep. For sure, man, for sure. All right, so moving to New Jersey during this time, did you kind of stay in that piano world, the sax world, or did you kind of transition into some type of other form of music?
So, yeah, after Jersey, I actually moved to Mississippi,
Okay.
and, that's when I kinda picked up the saxophone. I moved away from doing piano.
Okay.
Now saxophone in school, and, it was great, man. I really did love it, but the thing with stuff like that is it very much depends on your teacher
Very
at the
true.
moment, and, I had a great tutor, and then I had, like, my band director at the time was dope, and then I ended up changing schools, and this new band director I wasn't messing with at all.
Yeah.
I kinda lost my spark trying to
Mhm.
do that,
Mhm.
but, I think that helped open the way for me to find other ways for me to express myself in music, which
Okay.
would eventually lead to me, down the line,
Yeah.
production and the DJing, which is really funny now that I think about it. In high school, everybody kinda had the crack version of FL, and we were kinda pushing it around.
So that's when you kind of got into the house music scene, or were you like doing other genres in FL?
No, I was just messing around at first, man. I was
Mhm.
just excited to make something new, with a computer. Like you, obviously stuff like that's been around for a lot, but like as a a young adult,
Mhm.
and you get your hands on something like that, it's like, wow, what am I
Yeah.
doing? This is a computer, and I'm like making stuff I can't even think of. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then I slowly got into house music when I got to college.
Okay.
I had a couple friends that, like, showed me some music that I was really vibing with, but like I said, man, the '90s was a magical time. I didn't realize that I was listening to house music when I was a kid, I was
Same.
listening to, Show Me Love
Mhm.
and, all those classic, jock jams,
Yep.
classic tracks. So
Mhm.
I've always house music. That was one of my favorite things. I just didn't know what it was at the moment, and
Fair.
college is when I kinda got my education in that music as well as my regular educations.
Yeah, yeah. Did you go to college in Mississippi or somewhere else?
Nah, so I actually went to college, here where I live now, which is Tampa,
Tampa?
Florida.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so the friends that kinda introduced you to, was there like a scene there, or was it, kinda they were coming from different states and stuff like that?
And they were coming from different places, man.
Yeah.
There was a scene, but I wasn't into it
Mhm.
yet. And it was very bare bones at that point, but I
Okay.
did end up going to my first ever festival. I don't know if you remember it. It was called Identity Festival.
Mm-mm.
It was like it started around, like, 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And it was, like, ultras, like, moving festival, so they had it in a bunch of cities, but usually with the same lineup,
Okay.
and that they had, like, what was it? Cascade, Pretty
Oh, yeah.
Lights, Chucky,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Aoki, Rusko. I mean, when you really look at the lineup back then, you're like, "Wow,
That's crazy, right? Yeah.
it was really crazy."
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
that. You know, we can't talk about him anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, chill, 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 chill.
But, it was crazy, and that was my first ever festival,
Mhm.
and, it was insane, man. I was a huge Pretty Lights fan at that point because he was doing the trip hop and stuff, and,
Yeah.
of course, everybody loves Cascade at some point, man,
Mhm. Very true.
So, like, getting to experience the rave scene like that was truly inspiring, and that's what led me to, start diving deeper and getting into those true house sounds. I really did my homework on, like, where this stuff come from, and that's where I learned about Frankie Knuckles and, all the classics. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, man. It sounds like we have similar upbringings and similar like musical steps. Because I was definitely getting into the scene or scenes more during that time. Because I got stationed out in California in like '09,
Oh,
and
word.
we
What branch what branch?
the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay, that's so. I got a
Yeah.
homie that's from.
Oh, nice, 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 nice. And then we would go to Vegas for like the pool parties and parties and all that stuff, and that was like a big time for like EDM. And I'll always tell people like EDM is like the gateway drug, and then you just kind of find more
It's
more more
it's the
things. Yeah,
it's the front of the candy store, but
yeah,
once you get past the Skittles and stuff, you
yeah.
start finding real stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, bro. Exactly, exactly. So, when was the time you decided to kind of go full fledged, or did you kind of put production off and then like go into like DJing aspect of things, or was kind of
So I started off as a DJ, and it's really
okay?
funny because I literally just got done telling this story last week to a bunch of people. But so I kind of went to the Identity Fest, and I started going to shows here and there. But then my friends are like, we're going to Ultra. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go to Ultra. Like, I'm down. And I'm seeing all these artists, but then my friend was like, yo, let's go see Carl Cox. I'm like, okay. So we go into the mega structure, and oh my God. My life was turned around too, especially seeing like a black man up there
Yeah.
doing
Mm-hmm.
like absolutely having full control of not just the moment, but everything in that area was under his spell.
Yeah.
And I knew from that point on, I'm like, man, I want to try this, right? And then I see my friend with a pair of decks the next week, and I'm like, yo, what are those? How'd you get that? He's like, oh, I got it here. And I bought my first deck literally the week after seeing Carl.
Yeah.
And that's how I started DJing, you know? And like, when you start DJing, you're like, yeah, man, I want to play main
Yeah.
stage, bang,
Yeah.
dog. Eddie DJ knows you don't get into it like that. Like I
Yeah.
had the top 40s bars, and I had to do that for quite a long time. It was probably like 4 or 5 years before I really got to play the music that I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But that's when I started making my shift into production stuff, when I became a lot more serious with, number one, what I wanted to play,
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to hear,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. I just want to go back to the part about kind of your steps in the DJing world, like how everybody in the beginning, you get your first set of decks, and then it's like, yo, I'm ready for EDC right now. Can you explain to everyone kind of your steps and your processes of learning the craft of DJing and not just going like full fledged?
No, 1,000%, man. When I first got my decks, I wouldn't say I was scared, but
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing first before I started showing people. It didn't even come into my head to how to show people. I stayed in my bedroom for a long time, just making mixes, doing stuff, listening to my favorite artists. And I think that's what laid the groundwork for how good I am as a DJ, because I was listening to my absolute favorite DJs,
Hmm.
not just listening to the music they were playing and stuff like that, listening to how they were mixing, listening how they were changing the energy. And now I think that that's my strongest suit. When I go out there, you see anybody who sees me DJ, and it feels like the energy is increasing consistently, even if I'm playing, slower music or
Yeah.
I'm bringing the vibe, like I'm in full control. So, but it started off as just listening to my favorite artists. And then um, I was actually in a fraternity, and they were having like a day party, and they're like, Kyle, why don't you DJ? I'm like, I haven't DJ in front of anybody
Yeah.
yet. I've been these decks for 5 months. I'm like, I
Yeah.
haven't DJ in front of anybody yet. And they're like, just do it, man. And I did it, and like people were in love with it and enjoying it. And then 2 weeks later, I got my first bar gig. That was a disaster.
What happened with that? Everybody has a beginning like disaster gig thing
Well, because
story.
I wanted to play the music that I heard and I was listening to, but then when
Mm,
you go out to the cover, they're trying to hear Neo, they're
yeah.
trying to hear Chris Brown, they're trying to hear all that,
Hmm.
and I didn't have I didn't have the skill yet. I didn't have that music yet to be able to know, okay, this is what you need to do in a top 40s club. People don't understand top 40s or even wedding DJing is the hardest thing on
Yeah.
earth, because you
Yeah.
have 3 + 4 generations of people that you got to please,
True.
So when you have to have that wide music repertoire, it's really hard, especially if it's your first real gig, to be able to know to do that in the beginning. So I
Yeah.
got maybe 2-3 gigs in that bar. They didn't really go well. And I kind of like took a break, and I got back into it, and I got it into a few other places. And that's where I started to learn how to be a proper top 40 DJ,
Yeah.
which also made me be the type of DJ I am now, because I learned how to crowd read. Learned how to understand that this group might not be feeling what I'm doing right now. So I have to be able to change it up enough so I can get their trust.
Yeah.
And then what I want to do.
True.
Um,
True.
So yeah, I end up slowly getting to bigger bars, bars turn into clubs. And then from that point, I noticed that I didn't want to be that top 40 DJ anymore, because like there's only so much you can do with that. And at the same time, man, it just wasn't my vibe. That's not why I got into it in the
Yeah.
first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I made an active decision. I'm like, all right, I'm not playing this style anymore. I only want to play true house music, and I'm gonna start producing. So when I made that change, I was very conscious of, where I was gonna play and what I was gonna do. And luckily, I wasn't DJing wasn't the only thing I had. I also had a day job, so I was
That
able
helps.
to. Oh, it helps so much, bro. When you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about where your next paycheck is coming from,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
you could say no to some bad gigs.
Yep. I just like before I had you on a couple days ago, I had Demure on, and we talked about that too, about having the ability to say no to something that you don't want to do just because the paycheck.
Bro, the crazy thing is I just saw Demir too in Chicago.
Oh yeah. That's the homie.
He dumped it over good, but you're right. And I love how he gives out that information too on his YouTube channel. He
Yep.
talks about look out for in the industry, and you know, and luckily the information he's giving is stuff that I already had experienced a lot already.
Mhm.
But I'm glad he's putting that out there for other people, because sometimes you just don't know. You don't know what to look for. You
Mhm.
don't know how to advocate for yourself.
Yep.
Put yourself in the right position to be where you want to be.
For sure. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in here that's been in the game for many years that will prey, they'll prey on new people just because they don't know. And I'm sure once we get into more like signing tracks and all that stuff, we'll get into some contracts and stuff. But yeah, there's people out there that's just prey on people,
100%, man. 1,000%, bro.
So
I love this industry because it has some of the purest souls,
mhm.
but this industry also the music industry in general,
Yeah,
and attracts some very power hungry people.
very
So
true.
you got to watch out for yourself, even though this is a very beautiful thing that we have.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that there isn't dark places or people that are essentially trying to get you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's good to build a good core of people around you.
Very true.
Also, you help you get through this thing.
Very true. The old saying is it takes a village, for sure, man.
1,000%.
For sure. So now we're kind of, you said that, starting DJ 4 or 5 years, and then you got into the production game. Is one of the reasons why you got into production, because you thought that would get you more gigs, or you kind of found that like a passion of just, production, and that led to more gigs?
No, I actually think in terms of my life,
Mhm.
the way I was brought up with playing instruments and listening to music, I think this was just a natural progression of where I was supposed to go.
Okay.
You know, once I started producing, I was like, this is what I'm actually meant to do. Like, I love DJing. DJing is amazing, and it's probably my favorite part of it. But nothing feels better than DJing your own track and getting a crazy reaction out of it.
Yeah.
Nothing better than making something from scratch, or have an idea in your head that you put down, and then it sounds good. You know what I mean? It sounds good to you. It sounds good to other people. You know, I just felt like that was the natural progression. I didn't do it to get more gigs. In fact, I didn't even know if I was gonna get more gigs. I had no idea. I was just like, I know this is what I want to do, and I want to be able to play my music out to the style of music I'm listening to right now. And it just so happened that it started to open more doors for me once I started.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember what was your first track?
Yeah.
Well, two things. Two things. Do you remember your first track, and then do you remember your first signing? Because that it could be different.
Yeah. So back to how you were saying it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
So we had a group that we called Smokehouse. It was me, it was a DJ collective of me and my homies.
Okay.
And they were the ones that first, they were all better producers than I am. I barely touched at that point.
Mhm.
But we would get together, we help each other out, and I brought in this one track and I was like, hey man, I made this the other day. Let me know what y'all thinking. And I sampled Shoot by one of the old 90s groups, Shoot.
Yeah. 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 Dude.
Yeah, yeah. So I sampled that and I just showed them. It was like maybe a 32 bar loop or
Yeah.
something I made. And they were all like, yo, this is dope. And I'm like, word? They're like, yeah. And we decided to turn Smokehouse into a label.
Okay.
And that's where we just like, all right, we're gonna release the music that our group has. And we were just throwing it on SoundCloud at that point. That was the height of SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And it got a very positive response from my friends, from people who didn't know who I was, like, and that's where I started to feel, I'm like, okay, I can actually do this. So that was my first track. And then having Smokehouse allowed me to just release music. So I ended up releasing a song called Cheeseburgers, where it samples Don't Be a Menace. Don't
Okay.
Be a Menace.
Yeah.
Out
Yeah.
there, but what
Got
the
these
crack that goes
cheeseburgers,
on.
man. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got but dog, yeah, man. And people love that. I still give people something bad. Like, you gotta play Cheeseburgers. I'm like, bro, that's 13 years old. How?
Yeah. That's funny, man. That's
Yeah,
funny.
man. Yeah, man.
So
But
progressing from there, what year was this? Like, what year was this?
I want to say it was like, it had to be like 2015,
15. Okay.
16.
Good. 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 Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it was 2015.
Okay.
That's about it. And
So
yeah, man, I just started working on a bunch of crazy music. Back then it took me forever to finish tracks. Sometimes it still does, but
yeah.
I was maybe making one track every 3 months, 2 or 3 months. But
Okay.
then because I had Smokehouse, it didn't take me long to release it. So I was able to
Yeah.
just put it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I finally made an EP called All You Need Is Love. And I think that was the one where I was like, okay, my production has reached another level. And that's when I started getting signings after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What label was that one?
So that All You Need Is Love came out on Smokehouse,
Smokehouse.
but
Okay.
signing
Gotcha.
after that,
Gotcha.
uh, Freaking 909, which is Marshall Jefferson's label.
Oh.
Yeah. I was blessed to get that one. I I just sent it out on a whim, and they liked it, and that was the very first big label signing that I had. And that's where I started to really feel myself gaining some steam.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a dope label to come out on, man. Like, from like your very first one prior than the other ones from your own label. That's one of those ones that's like, damn, bro. Like,
Yeah.
only goes up, from there for sure.
Oh, man. Especially from like Marshall Jefferson. That
Exactly.
man, legend, dude.
Exactly.
He's
It's a
one of the
legend.
OGs,
Yeah, for sure. For
Just to
sure.
even thought that he messes with my music, I'm like, it's like you start to get the stamp of approval. It's almost
Yeah.
like you get stamps on your passport.
Yeah.
You get stamps on your production passport,
So from that time frame, and obviously, you're getting bigger bookings and, making better tracks. Um, so what was the next step there? Your trajectory from there?
So, right after, I would say it was right after that, I made this track called Manchester. I had a bunch of tracks kind of made at this point, but um, dealing with my homies at Smokehouse, they really helped push me. And I made this track called Manchester, and I absolutely love it. And I was sending it out to labels for almost a full year, like legitimately a full year.
Yeah.
And it was getting denied left and right, but I believed in this track. I was like, I know. Actually, I think it's right above my head right here.
Okay. Dope.
So I believed in that track, and I just read a book called The Alchemist. I don't know if you
I've heard of it. Mm-hmm.
now, the one thing that kept sticking out to me was pay attention to the signs. And so right when I finished reading that book, I saw that Gorgon City had made a post on Facebook saying, "Hey, we're starting to release tracks on our label Realm. Please send demos in." So I'm like, okay, this is one of those signs.
This is it.
So I sent Manchester with a bunch of other tracks to them. And the very next morning, and mind you, no label responds to you.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
The very next morning, I got a message from Gorgon City, and they were like, "We love all these tracks, especially Manchester, Do It To Me, and this one I had, Groove. We want these to be the first on the label. We're going to test them out in Ibiza this weekend.
Dang.
But thank you for sending." And immediately I was like, there's no way.
There's gotta be a fake email.
I was a huge Gorgon City fan, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Imagination was one of my favorite songs. It's probably still one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
I used to bump that album all the time. So to get that response, especially when I got denied from so many places for so long, it was such an amazing thing. But also, this is just an email.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is, how real is this?
Yeah.
But then 5 days later, I get another email from them. They're like, "Dude, we really love this track. We're 100% signing this. By the way, somebody got a video of us playing it in Ibiza." And sure enough, it's them and Amnesia dropping Manchester with the confetti and the CO2 and everything. And it's just crazy in there.
That's
And
dope, bro.
I was like, oh my God, no, this is real. But yeah, man, and that's how it first started. And then probably like 2-3 months later, Gorgon was playing in Orlando, and they're like, "Hey, come meet us. Like, you're in Florida. Like, let's like come through." And so I got to meet Matt and Kai for the first time. They are probably some of the greatest human beings I ever met. Like,
Yeah.
so nice, the great people. And from that point on, they almost treated me like a little brother, and they always, looked out for me. But that night, they played both tracks in front of the crowd in Orlando and made sure I was front and center so everybody could see it.
Yeah.
And they really championed the sound I was making at that time.
For sure, bro.
And my career took off after that. Manchester started playing. Fisher started playing Manchester. Camel Fat was playing it. I think David Guetta played it when it came out. Like,
Damn.
it was such a quick change.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Because like I said, I'd been sending this track out for a year. Everybody denied it. Next thing I know, everybody's playing it. So
It's funny
it
how
was,
things happen like that, huh?
yeah, bro. But like you said, once the stamp of approval, that's another
Yeah.
stamp in the passport, man.
For sure.
So
For sure. Can
I'll,
you talk about how that relationship was built organically, but also how they liked your music, but when they were in town or the area, they hit you up and brought you in.
Mm-hmm.
Could you
Well,
explain how that kind of? Because I feel as though, I don't know. It could be just me. I don't know, but I feel as though that sometimes when you sign these tracks, one, they don't necessarily play them, or it's not like a part of the family thing. And that's, let me preface this. Not saying that has happened, but I'm saying, but I see that in the industry.
no, definitely. There's some places where they see they see the music as a check, or it's just another thing. There's many labels that just see it as, oh, this is just a notch on our belt.
Yeah.
I think with Matt and Kai, not only it was the first track on their label other than them, and I was the first artist they were championing, but also I think the type of people they were, because if you look at their background, the way they came up, they were a part of, I think it was Black Butter, which was kind of collective that brought a lot of artists together, and they each raised each other up. So I feel like that was just how they were. That's their nature. And if you look at a lot of the artists that they're still signing, still doing, they lift them up. Jackie Hollander, Miss Dre, Max Styler, a lot of these artists, they lift up. So it also depends on who the label is and who's running that label. That's just the people that they are. They're about developing artists, and not all of these labels are really there for that, And I was very blessed to get to meet them when I did, because that just empowered me and how I felt about my music. And it allowed me to make better music. It allowed me to have a very high confidence in what I could do. And stuff like that is crucial, man. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen people just, give up on themselves, and they may be dope. They could be the dopest dope.
Yeah.
Don't believe in themselves, or they didn't have the right person that one day to be like, hey man, like, I like this, keep going,
Mhm.
and like I said, they still do it. Like, they do their end of the realm parties, they support their artists, and not just only as an artist, they support them as a person.
Yeah, as a friend too. Yeah, that's dope.
Well, I saw him last week in Miami, and it's like every time I see him, it's like, we were hanging out yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, we've always been real tight, so I appreciate them so much.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So moving like forward now, you're getting more tracks signed.
Mhm.
You're playing different gigs, bigger
Mhm.
gigs. I know you mentioned before we started that you got the chance to play Ultra. Um,
Yeah.
that's tight too, though. That's tight too, bro.
That that's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was
So
trying to do-
so I kind of want to get into was that your biggest gig to date, to that date?
No, honestly,
Okay.
it was awesome. Don't get me wrong, it
Hmm.
was great. But I still think the biggest gig I ever had was Electric Zoo in 2021.
Okay.
So been this would have been right as I had probably like my second, or probably my fourth or fifth track on Realm.
Okay.
I decided the big tracks around that point. I just made a remix of Duke Dumont over COVID.
Okay.
Um, w- like, I really had a lot of good traction going with me, um, musically. And I just quit my residency here in Tampa. I was playing at the biggest club here in Tampa, but I just left it. I just played a bunch of festivals, and but Izu was going to be the biggest one that was coming.
Okay.
I had EC that was going to happen right after that too, but the it was just, there was a perfect storm with Izu. So like, I got booked to play the King's Hall at the Mirage in Brooklyn the
Brooklyn. Yep.
night
Hmm.
for my actual set,
Hmm.
and it was opening for John Summit, and this is right before John was starting to hit his peak.
Yeah.
And so I was opening, and all these people came in, and they got to really see me and what I do. Now, I played the Brooklyn Mirage before with Gorgon, but this time it was a little different, And being able to open for John and all these people see me, they're like, oh my God, like this kid's amazing. Everything he's doing, the music he's playing. So after I was done playing, I had tons of people come up to me like, yo, you're amazing. Like, I really love what you did up there. Like, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. And every person I told them, like, I'm playing the festival tomorrow at 3 p.m. Come out.
Definitely.
So the word kind of got out after that. And so the next morning, the festival comes, and it was Bruno Furlan that was supposed to play after me. But I guess something happened with his flight or something. So they booked Laid Back Luke at the last minute to play after. So now I got a legend playing after.
Yeah.
So everybody who was coming to that stage came early so they could see Laid Back Luke. Next thing I know, I'm getting ready to play my set, and there's thousands of people there.
Damn,
and I'm like, and it's one of those things of like, oh, I've been waiting for this moment.
Oh, I'm about to turn up.
I'm about to turn up. Sure enough, bro.
Yeah.
It was absolute mayhem in there, bro. I still have people telling me about that set. And I think the best part about it was that my mom and my aunt were there.
Oh, that's tight, man. That's
Yeah,
good.
they were there. It was one of the first. It was the first gig my aunt got to see me play, but it was my mom had seen me play before, but she saw me play like a really small, like club one time. But that was the first they got to see me at a festival, and it was by far the most people I played for and the biggest gig.
How did your not to go back in time, but how did your family take that you wanted to be, pursue this career in like DJing and house music and production?
To be honest, man, my mom has always been very supportive. When I told her that I wanted to start playing the saxophone, she was fine with it. I was a 3 sportman in high school and as a kid. Any sport I wanted to play, she let me do it. The only one she didn't let me do was football, and I did that on my own. Oh, mom. Hey, hold man. She's like, what? I'm like, but my mom's always been very supportive. And once again, like I said, I felt like everything I had done in my life was this is just the evolution of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like she saw that too. So,
that's dope.
I had, she went to one of my gigs not too long ago in Atlanta. And I heard one of the like artist relations people was talking to my mom. It was the cutest thing I heard. She said, "Oh, do you normally listen to this type of music?" She's like, "No, I only listen to his."
That's it, my baby. That's it. Oh, it's my baby. That's it, man. That's great, man. That's great. That's great. And that must have been it must be a good feeling to kind of start your journey with, a saxophone, and then seeing you, small bars, and then, going to this massive stage and hearing everybody scream for you. That she must have been a proud mama for that, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. She's always been very proud of me and what I could do. And she was the one who always instilled in me that, if anything, I can do anything I want as long as I put onto it. Like, the possibilities are endless. And I feel like having that instilled in me and then it manifesting.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling, and I'm glad I can make her proud.
That's dope, bro. That's dope. Okay, so let's fast forward to last week, man. Excuse me. Last week, Miami Music Week, man. If anybody's seen your Instagram page and your stories, man, we were living through you for sure, man. It looked really fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So Music Week last week was amazing, man. I've had this music that I've been holding on to for quite a while. One specifically is a collab with me and Fire that will be coming out at some point. But
Okay.
I'm not telling you when.
I was about to ask, man. Let me get that exclusive.
I know, I can't give you exclusive yet. The track, it's been gaining a lot of traction, and me getting to play with Sam in Chicago the week before, I was like, I gotta open with this track. Sam needs to hear this because I was closing out after.
Okay.
I'm like, we play this track. And the second I play it, she's like, oh my God, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, you want it, don't you?
Yeah, that's tight.
So I give it to Sam. I'm like, yo, like, thank you so much. And then I always go to Music Week on Thursday because I can only spend 4 days in Miami, bro. If I
That's it.
spend any longer than that,
That's it,
I'm
bro.
losing my money. I'm losing my soul. I'm losing my dignity. I can't do it. So I only do 4 days. So I pop in on Thursday, and that's a defected party.
Mhm.
And you know, you can't. I always stay at the same place. The check-in's like 4, so it kind of messes everything up because that means you
Yeah.
get mad to pool parties.
Yeah.
But by the time we're all geared and ready to go, we get there like right as Sam is starting, and she's playing back to back with East Everything. As soon as I walk in, I'm talking about I am giving my ID to the guy to show him that I'm on the list.
Mhm.
And as I'm doing that, I hear my track, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Now I'm trying to rush the guy, trying to find my name on things like, "Hey, bro, like, then play my song right now. I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
gotta go."
yeah.
You know.
That's tight.
And it was just so poetic to me because, you know, it literally the first song of my first party, the first song of Music Week this year was mine.
That's dope, man.
And the action was crazy. Everybody was singing. It samples an old school track, so
Mhm.
it's got a real nice, it's very much like I said, you know, the culmination, everything that I've experienced in my life always evolves.
Yeah.
And this song is one of those main songs that's always stuck with me my whole life. So to be able to make, you know, my stamp on it and then everybody singing it and going nuts to it is crazy.
That's dope,
So
bro.
yeah, that set the tone for Music Week for me. And then I got to play Solotoko, which I've always loved.
It's
It's
tight in there.
such a dope, it's such a dope spot
It
and a
is, man.
great small room. You know, I feel like I really feel at home in venues like that because I've played big venues, I've played small venues, but there's something about when everybody's right there in your face.
Yeah.
They're playing and
Mhm.
you can feel their energy. It just I feel like that's where I was supposed to be. And then I was playing it with a bunch of homies, you know, there's DJ Holographic was there. I was
Yeah.
playing beat with Devin James. Gene Ferris, who I've known for a majority of my career, he was there and we're hanging, bro. So like it was just this whole Music Week was just the natural progression, bro. It was really, really great on all cylinders. And you could hear that. It ain't just coming from me. You could listen to anybody who was at Music Week this year
Yeah.
feels great.
Yeah,
They
man.
said the vibes were high.
Yeah, it looked really fun, man. It looked really fun. I went last year, but like I was telling you earlier, like I had to sit this one out, kind of messed up my leg. But
Yeah.
next year we'll be in the building for sure. Again.
Hey, most definitely, man. Most
Yeah, man.
definitely.
It seems like like we said in the beginning of the podcast, it takes a village. It seems like you're very well connected in the industry, but not connected in the sense of um, you know, take it from people. They seem like genuine like connections. Could you tell the viewers the importance of, making the connections with people?
Yeah, man. It's wild to me because obviously making connections is such a huge part, but I don't really see it as let me meet this person because I need to connect with.
Yeah.
A lot of it just stems from mutual respect. You know, when I got into this music, I do my history. You know, I went and found where this music came from. You know, who was doing what, who was making what, who was listening to what. When I find a new artist that I love, I go back and I listen to every release they ever had, what labels they were on, who's their favorite artist, who's their inspirations. And so I really dive into, you know, who they are as an artist. And that's why it's so easy for me to make connections with them, because I'm not coming to them as, hey, I'm another guy in the industry. I'm coming to them, hey, I'm an actual fan of your music and what you do. And I can share with you how my love for music and your love for music meet, you know? So like perfect example, this past weekend in Music Week, I got to meet Chris Stussy. We were sitting there on stage for during the Dennis Ferrer Prunk set, which I love Dennis. That's
Yeah.
probably one of the artists to see live. Like him, Bedouin,
Yeah, he's tight.
like those are the guys I love to see.
Yeah.
And I was chilling with Nasser Baker too, who's also love him. He's one of the homies.
Mhm.
And I turn around and I'm like, I'm like, man, that dude look like Chris does.
Yeah.
you know, when you're like, oh,
That's
but
funny.
you would be that close to
Yeah, yeah.
know. But they're
Mhm.
like, all right. And I turn around, I'm like, nah, I think that's him. So I just turn around like, hey man, you Chris Stussy? Like, and you can tell he's a little reserved. He's to
Yeah,
himself.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey man, I just want to let you know that I've been a fan of you since you're releasing on Large Music. Now, I don't know if you know, there's this label Large Music.
Yep.
That stuff he was releasing on back in like 2015,
Yeah.
16.
Mm.
And it wasn't been, I mean, it wasn't quite the stuff he's releasing now. It was more like,
Deep house.
it was more true, deep,
Yeah. Mhm.
groovy house.
Mhm.
But I loved it. I have
Yeah.
half of my Stussy library is that from
It's old
those
stuff.
labels.
Mhm.
And so he could tell that when I mentioned Large Music, it's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a legit fan.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to tell him like, hey, I really love that you're getting your just due right now. I'm really happy that, you're getting the respect you deserve. Cause man, you've been doing this shit for a long time and it's all been good.
Yeah.
And once again, that is a general connection. That's a genuine connection. That's me telling him, hey, bro, like I've been following you. This is the type of music that you fuck with. That's the type of music I fuck. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's not about how big you are now.
Yeah.
I'm respecting what you did back then. I'm respecting what you're doing now.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's where a lot of people, I feel like that's what's, I want to say it's gotten lost in the industry now. I feel like a lot of the new people coming in are kind of just trying to do what gets them ahead.
Yeah.
But but at the same time, there's a lot of people who are very genuine. So once again, like I said, there's two sides to the industry. But I think in general, man, you just have to really look at why you do this and why you love this type of music. Cause it's really easy, man. It's really easy to get lost
Yeah.
in what you're doing. It's really easy to get lost in the gigs. It's really easy to get lost in the party life because it is a party. It's really easy to lose sight of what you're doing. And I think if you always stem back to like, hey, I love this music. I love originality. I love doing what I do. I love seeing other people do what they do. I think that's how that genuine connection can be made. And then people will not only want to be around you, they want to see what you have to offer because you obviously have this great mindset on you, you know?
True.
So it's all about being genuine now.
For sure, bro. It's a perfect way to end it, right there, bro. But just one more question. We always end the podcast with this type of question.
Yes.
So from yourself now to yourself in the beginning of this whole process,
Yeah.
not what would you tell yourself, but how would you better prepare yourself for this part of your life now?
Man, I would just say, man, keep your confidence up, bro, because you have it in you. You do, you know? And not to say I didn't think I had it in me, but life be lifing, bro. You know what I mean? Life be lifing, man. So I think just understand being true to who you are. Not like I'm never not been true to who you are, but you
Mhm.
know, I feel like people hide themselves from the world sometimes.
Yeah,
And there's no need to do that
for sure.
at all. You know.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. All right, man. Well, let everybody know where your upcoming gigs, where they can find you. Some music going to come out soon. So let everybody know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So my next gig is here where I live in Tampa. It's gonna be at Ember. We haven't quite announced it yet, but you know what? Here you go. There's your exclusive.
Here we go.
And right after that is the next day is gonna be my next release, which is gonna be I'm back on Street Tracks. I love Street Tracks. It's ways and odysseys, like ways. And they've always supported my music from almost the beginning. And they have some of my biggest tracks. The last one was Ye Melee. So this one I'm very, very happy about. Because it's called In the Studio.
Dope one.
So that one's dropping. I believe the date is either May 8th or May 9th.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be having your episode out then, so we'll help promote for sure, bro.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, man, thank you for actually where can people find you online?
Yeah, man. So it's Kyle Kinch on everything. KYLEKINCH. That's Instagram, Twitter, whatever else you use. Same thing on everything, baby.
Word. All right, bro. Thanks again for coming on, and this has been another episode of the All Things House Music Podcast. Peace.
Peace.